afternoon and welcome. It's already Wednesday. We made it midweek. Well, 949 8037 or toll free at 1 800 534 8255. We want you to be a part of a discussion. We're going to start off having a good conversation with Ms. Tracy Banks from the Cayman Islands Development Bank. 1 p.m. We talk to our friends at HM Customs. What was it, CBC now? Well, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by GreenTurtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile. Saving lives today. Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us and thank you for allowing us to share with you, for you making your time available to share with us. As we invite you now to join our discussion, as we welcome Ms. Tracy Ebanks, the General Manager of the Cayman Islands Development Bank. Ms. Tracy, good afternoon.
Hi, Dwayne. How are you?
Listen, I am very blessed, very thankful, and on a good day when the sun is shining, you look handsome. I'm telling you, man. It's good. How are you, my lady? How are you?
Not too bad. This is, I was expecting to come in the studio and now I'm doing 1-800 call-in, which is nice, so I can just talk from my office.
If we can leverage the technology, they say it's good, but with the greatest respect, I miss not having you and other guests in the studio so we can, see what I'm saying, see and hear and look and interact and, the fellowship that comes from, interacting with your friends. It's long overdue. So hopefully very soon we'll be able to be seated again in that wonderful room that Miss Susan controls.
Exactly.
And I hope and pray that this whole ordeal that we all experiencing hasn't been terribly bad for you or for the others as well. But I know it's been challenging and frustrating, conflicting and confusing, and sometimes a level of exasperation that even me get provoked sometimes. So it's challenging.
Yes, we all need to have the patience of Job. Right now, we're in extraordinary times, and certainly we're dealing with our own sort of struggles and frustrations, but some of it is from a technology standpoint too. Customers are finding it a little more difficult to send in documentation using, the online application forms and getting access to scan things and send things over. So, but it's a learning curve.
That's the thing. It's for all of us, and I believe that sometimes we don't necessarily appreciate how challenging. Um, I, I I I think that we're in this particular environment in a very very special, I say, blessed place, physically and emotionally. But again, messaging is important, and if we can have an opportunity to share and learn. And I appreciate you making yourself available because it isn't just work as usual. You have to balance everything, leveraging all the technology available to manage all the resources. But with that, though, from your perspective, how are our customers, potential customers, to access your services to benefit from your programs? And what is your advice and guidance to us?
Sorry, I had one of my business phones going off there. I had to throw it in my drawer. Technology.
I,
Sorry, can you repeat
how
that?
to be similar? I understand. But yeah, it is again, and that's just another opportunity too for us to appreciate and be respectful of not just our family, friends, and colleagues, but even the agencies that we may have to somehow engage with in order to do something. You're not just balancing everything that's happening there, but now with this sort of new environment that we're working in, we're expected to do everything. So with that, I was asking, and for the customers and prospective customers, how best are they to access your services, find, benefit from the resources and the like?
Well, we have two programs going on right now to help small businesses. We have a joint program with the newly formed business center that's under the Ministry of Commerce. You can get loans up to $50,000. You have to apply through the business center first. It's kind of like an incubation program for them. They're also providing a technical assistant who is a qualified accountant to help customers with putting together a business plan, putting together a simple balance sheet income statement, and that's free of cost for the customer. So that actually helps to speed up the process and helps with the loan underwriting then that's done at the bank. In addition to that program, the bank also has working capital loans for amounts over that amount that is not tied to the business center. We have our own program that you can avail quite a bit more with special terms and conditions.
Now, and as I would ask you to expound on those, terms and conditions and the like, but also equal it to sort of shed some light on who would qualify and how they would go about qualifying. But what's the criteria initially for qualifying? Is it potentially a new startup? Is it a fledgling business?
Well, unfortunately, at this point in time, we're not considering startups. Right now, to be honest, our focus is on trying to provide working capital for those companies that have been severely impacted by COVID. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And essentially, if a company was doing well prior to COVID, and even with the borders being closed, if they can demonstrate that they were doing okay before COVID, they have established a local market, or if when the borders open they can become profitable again, then these are the kind of companies that we want to help right now because they need working capital. Some of these owners have rent to pay, they have other expenses to pay, and the cash flow is slow or non-existent right now. So it's a much needed product that we're pushing out into the local economy.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a good uptake on it too. Like our volume has picked up as people are understanding more and more what the program can do for them. In some instances, it could be considered a bridge loan that they can get a facility through us, and then on special terms and conditions, like 1% interest rate for the first year. You're not going to find that anywhere else. And we also capitalize the interest for 6 months. So essentially, you don't even have a payment to make for 6 months. And this will allow a lot of businesses to recover during airport closures. The cruise ships aren't here. So that's money that they can use and not have to worry about paying us back until January next year.
Okay. Well, Ms. Tracy, when we come back, maybe we can continue that, talking more about the interest rate, beyond the year, but also when the collateral is needed and equally the term, the duration of the loan, and if the amount is maximum amount is 50,000. Well, let's chat about that when we come back from our break. And
Okay.
for those who are listening, we're honored to have the good company of the General Manager of the CIDB, Ms. Tracy Eubanks. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Hey, hun, what you doing?
Putting things away in the shed since it's hurricane season. You know, preparing for the better.
Don't you mean preparing for the worst?
No, for the better. Since we have Britcay Insurance, we're fully covered against hurricanes. Plus, they have response teams ready to help us file a claim faster. If I were preparing for the worst, I'd watch football all day.
Still don't get it.
Isn't there a match on?
Oh, really?
Let Britcay prepare you for the better this hurricane season. Call 949-8699 or visit britcay.ky.
Stop the spread of coronavirus by washing your hands with soap frequently. If none is available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Stay at home whenever you can. Avoid close contact with people outside your household by staying a minimum of 6 feet apart and wear a mask while in public. For more information, go to www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
The Hamady family are deeply saddened to announce the passing of Robert Hamady. Due to strict government regulations, the funeral and processions taking place on Thursday, the 16th of July, will be family only to keep clearly under 25 people. Please join us on a live stream feed at 10 a.m. We're making them available at robbieyoungatheart.com and the Tortuga Facebook page. We appreciate your support.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, and we are honored to have Ms. Tracy Ebanks, the General Manager at the Cayman Islands Development Bank, as our guest. Hey, thanks again for balancing your day and slotting us in to learn more about the business loan program and the like. Ms. Tracy, just before the break, you were sharing that the interest, for the first 6 months is capitalized, and it's at a 1% for the first year.
That's correct.
Okay, what is it after that? And then how long is the maximum term period? But let's start with it. What is it after that?
Right. So for the first year, it's only 1% interest, and thereafter, we have the right to increase the interest rate to 4%, which is still relatively low in the grand scheme of things. And the rate will go up depending on certain criteria that the customers meet. As part of the joint program that we have with the Small Business Center, customers are required to submit quarterly financial statements so we can track their progress. It's kind of a hand-holding, hand-off exercise, really, that we can see what they're doing and at that point in time say, look, we notice you're struggling here, what's going on, and give them some guidance and some feedback. So at the end of the first year, we look at how the company has been operating, and maybe they get a 3.5% rate. If they're not submitting their quarterly financial statements, maybe the rate's 4%. So they'll be rewarded for cooperating with the terms and conditions of the loan.
And now the duration of the loan, is it amortized over 5 years, 50 years? Or what sort of duration are we looking at?
Yeah, the amounts are very small. They're only up to $50,000. So really and truly, you don't want to be going over 5 years.
True. Interest and the like. And then for security, what sort of security collateral would CIDB be asking for?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because there's been a lot of misinformation being spread, and Wendy Ledger did reach out to me from CNS, and she reported a pretty comprehensive writing on their website just to sort of explain it. That Yes, collateral is required. There's no bank that you're ever going to get a loan without collateral. Collateral is needed. What we've done, though, is in any commercial bank scenario, normally they will only finance 65% of your project. You have to inject the rest. So we've taken that ratio and said we'll go up to 80%, which is very generous for business loans. But I think the misunderstanding, too, is that even though we're financing 80% loan to value, for instance, if you have a piece of property, if you need $50,000, which is the maximum under the scheme, if you have something that's a piece of property or something that's valued at $62,500, well, you're getting 100% financing. So you're not going to be out of pocket. You don't have to produce any cash. There's various forms of security that we take, so it just depends on the type of security being offered, how we look at the whole application. Some people don't have real estate, they don't have land, but maybe there's someone that's considered a guarantor that we can consider. So if they want to borrow, say, $10,000, the guarantor should show that they have a net worth of at least $12,500, which isn't very substantial.
So even with if I may, even with that individual, going back to the first scenario, that may have property, if it's in excess of the maximum loan, then like you say, the 62.5, they'll be able to get the 100% financing.
Right.
Would that be a primary charge, or would you be willing to take a second or even third or fourth charge?
Yes, you know what? We've really relaxed some of our security terms, and we're prepared to take a second. They would have to go contact their primary bankers and see if they can get permission, because sometimes that can be a little stumbling block. It just depends if their bankers are happy to do so. They will look at the amount of equity that's in the property, and they may look at the debt serviceability of the customer and say, you might not be able to afford another loan. That's kind of out of our control, but we do take second charges.
Okay. And as you mentioned, the debt service, what is the debt service ratio? What sort of considerations do you take into account when you're calculating your debt service ratio?
Well, essentially, the amount of the loan, when you're looking at a personal total debt service ratio, banks typically look at 50%. For businesses, that ratio is a little different. So we want to see like 1.25 coverage.
Okay.
So yeah, your net profit should show off that there's like 1.25% coverage over.
Okay, and you would be looking at the full sort of financials with respect to your coverage, even accounting for depreciation and other non-cash transactions?
Yeah, depreciation is non-cash, so we don't. That gets added back in when we look at our calculations.
Okay, I think this is where I reflect on the gentleman I called earlier and understanding the importance of us having a greater sense of financial literacy, but for businesses, whether small or large, to employ proper set of accounting to at least keep track of their investment, but for potential financing options going forward. With that now, when you're looking at an applicant, would you look at an existing applicant, an existing customer who may have fallen challenging times now in terms of maybe have been delinquent prior to the start of the year, prior to the start of this scenario?
Well, here's the challenge that we have. Banks typically look at past performance for future indicators. If someone was struggling prior to COVID, you would really have to dig into why they were struggling, and it could be simple fixes. Maybe their cost of sales was too high. They needed to change their suppliers. There's various things that can be factored in here, but small businesses have a lot of challenges here because the cost of doing business is high, and sometimes they're so focused on paying their bills that they don't look at, for instance, if you have something that's capital intensive, you have a lot of machinery and equipment, sometimes they underestimate what it's going to cost to do maintenance and repair and replacement, that kind of thing. So they're always running behind instead of up front saying, you know what, we've made a little bit of extra money this month, let me pull some of that back and put that in a special account to handle any sort of extraordinary event, because machinery and equipment is going to break down. So you always see some struggles like that in specific industries. Even in the restaurant business, they have equipment that breaks down. It can be very costly to replace them. They're using up a lot of their cash. So it's a matter, too, of when to borrow and when to inject some money.
That's the challenge that you shared. People need to get to the perspective where they're doing their budget and their projections, that they understand the maintenance, ongoing operating costs. There can be significant, challenges.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because even with COVID right now, the restaurant business, they have to make sure that they have additional PPEs for their staff, protective equipment, gloves, face masks, hand sanitizers. Like, they really have to go above and beyond for code. So that's going to increase their cost of doing business. And of course, their numbers are down because of social distancing. So again, if you were struggling before COVID to make ends meet, and you were reporting losses, and maybe you were delinquent with some of the other bills at other financial institutions, then it can be difficult to get help unless there is some extenuating circumstances that you can explain why XYZ happened. Because like I said, past performance sometimes is an indicator of what's going to happen in the future. So we were looking at those loans that we really need to stay open, they need to remain viable, and we know that they're going to be operating profitably again once the borders open.
That's the thing, and I guess this is, as I'm listening to you, someone has said in a message sort of saying that there's so many variables beyond the operators slash business owners control, and just reference borders for those who are more dependent on the tourism market, as it were. With that, though, this person asked a question: with that many variables beyond the control, how does a person trying to reword this a little bit nice? But as a person basically, continued operation, if they even take that alone, sure, borders may open September, they may not open till September next year. Tourism may be excellent, or it may not be.
Yeah, the tourism industry is going to be a huge challenge, a huge concern. And unfortunately, there's going to be those businesses that will close forever because they were struggling before, and there's no market for them right now. It's unfortunate, but I think it's going to be a reality for several businesses here, because government is doing a small business grant program as well. They can get some funds through that, but if the borders remain closed and that period is going out till next year, then they're going to need another round of cash so they can open.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, you see, the liquidity of this as well. Do you look in your ratio analysis when you look at sort of the liquidity position? Because some businesses may be fairly liquid, may have a good operating, good turnover, but then some may be the case where they get draws every now and again. So how does that factor in the liquidity ratio when you're looking at repayment?
Well, like you said, when we're looking at financial statements too, we look at the behavior of the owners. If they're paying themselves big dividends and big salaries, then the discussion has to happen. Well, you need to cut back. We will put covenants in place to restrict that, to make sure that the balance sheet stays healthy. So stuff like that we can do, which sort of helps them see the bigger picture and where they can cut costs. But again, it's industry specific too.
That's the thing too, yeah, that industry specific. As I read this other message that came through, and this one is sort of suggesting that the financing options available from the commercial banks are, well, less than stellar. So it commends the willingness and availability of the CIDB, but offers up sort of this sentiment that it's difficult for capital acquisition here and capital expansion programs in the absence of finding proper financing options. Is there anything other than this existing program the CIDB offers for the business owner, or this is the one now?
Right. Well, we have the joint one with the business center that you can get up to $50,000, but we also have our own internal program where you can get up to $500,000.
Okay.
So this is going to help the more medium to larger corporations on the island, and the interest rate for that one, you're looking at 2.5% for the first year, again, which is an incredible rate. That's why we are offering these kind of concessions, because we realize that we're not in a good situation right now, so we need to keep interest rates affordable. Funny enough, development banks typically charge a higher interest rate than commercial banks, and there's a reason for that, is because we do take on the higher risk loans, and we're not a deposit-taking institution, so we can't offset any of our interest rate risks. So it forces us to charge an additional spread. But we are also geared to help finance in down cycles. So it's the reverse right now. We are offering really low interest rates to help those businesses recover, because what's the point in us charging the standard rate when they won't be able to pay that rate of interest? So
rob Peter to pay Paul, no?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily help the bottom line to a certain extent for us, but we are here not for profit. We are here to at least break even so we can help small business recover. We operate under a totally different mandate. One of the things, Sterling, that we find too is that there's a lack of understanding when it comes to another criteria that the bank looks at. We're not asset lenders. We base things on cash flow. So if you have something that's valued $1 million, but you can't show that you can repay, then you're not going to get the loan. Our objective here isn't to foreclose on properties and sell things, sell your business. You have to be able to demonstrate that you can pay back, and that sometimes is not well understood. We've had situations where we look at balance sheets where the company owns $10 million worth of assets, but they have no cash because everything's tied up in those assets. So, sometimes it's very difficult to have these conversations with customers, and how do they get to that situation? It goes back to, well, are they financing a lot with personal resources, or are they financing it with debt? It just depends on how they're providing that capital for their business.
Yeah. They're asset rich and cash poor. So the gearing then that we're looking at for that business, or even that in the future for that startup entity.
Right. And then sometimes they'll say, well, we have all these assets. Why can't you lend me the money? Because you can't demonstrate how you're going to pay the loan, because you have no cash flow coming in, or you haven't adjusted, you haven't adapted. I mean, there is opportunities right now for businesses to reinvent themselves, and I'm excited to see that some have actually taken that up, whereas I've seen a customer that is now going to be incorporating more green technology into his product, which is very exciting. So he'll have a little niche market going in there, and you can say, well, maybe that product's going to cost a little bit more, but in actual fact, what it's contributing in the long run, I think there are a lot of people out there that are very conscious of these kind of efforts, and he should do well. People are turning to using apps to get their messages out there. You can order food using apps. So a lot of people now are using this as an opportunity to reinvent their business models and look at the local market, because let's face it, it's a local market right now. Tourism is going to be a little bit slower to come back on stream.
Well, perhaps that's one of the things that we should look at. This necessity is the mother of invention, and hopefully, as businesses on island start looking more inward towards the captive audience, as it was. Ms. Tracy, when we come back from this quick break, maybe you can conclude by sort of reminding us of the program, but also sharing with our listeners how to access even your offices and the like. For those, we ask you to rejoin us after the break. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Have you heard the news? Get excited! King Sports Center is reopening on Saturday, July 4th for bowling and skating, Monday, July 6th for the Powerhouse Gym, and July 19th for sports programs. King Sports Center offers a complete health and recreational environment for the only sports and recreational facility of its kind in the Cayman Islands. A full list of all safety precautions is listed at www.kingsportscenter.com. For more information, call 946-5464. Email kings@candw.ky. King Sports Center, providing you with all your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
Hi, this is Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management Cayman Islands. We are now in the hurricane season, and for information on how to prepare and stay safe, please visit our website, www.caymanprepared.ky. Some top tips to bear in mind, given that we are still in the midst of COVID-19. Please make sure you have a mask and sanitizer, you have food supplies to last for 3 to 5 days, a portable radio, personal hygiene and sanitation items, and medical supplies, and any other specific items your family may need during a hurricane. Make sure you know where you will shelter in the event of a storm. If you have pets, please make sure provisions are in place for them too, as the majority of shelters will not take pets. Please visit our website for more tips and tricks on www.caymanprepared.ky or call us on 945-4624. Stay safe, Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We have the excellent company of Mr. Tracy Ebanks, the General Manager and CEO of the Cayman Islands Development Bank. Again, thanks very much, because I think in this time where people, Mr. Tracy, are trying to figure out how to save their businesses, how to ensure that they can keep their employees paid, their customers service, it's a bit of a challenge financially speaking as well. So with your programs that are available, maybe people now can at least avail themselves. You were sharing at the very outset that you had a good uptick in the number of sort of people accessing. Can you give us a quick preview of like what sort of increases we're looking at? Okay. Hello, Ms. Tracy. Okay. All right. I'm going to go on the premise, Ms. Susan, that I'm here but not there. And if you're hearing me, it's interesting. Hello, Ms. Tracy. All right. Well, it's 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. And if at any point you want to join our discussion, we certainly appreciate your participation. Likewise, after the headline news, we're expected to be joined by the good friends from the Customs and Border Control as we talk about, the recent level of imports and the process to go about clearing and the documentation required, and they'll give us an update. Guys, they are prepared to share with us, so get a chance to speak to both Mr. Walton and Mr. Eubanks in their respective capacities. Now, as we are looking, increasing at things, hopefully the technology works for us and is still working. We had earlier Ms. Tracy Eubanks now. The challenges of working remotely, as she shared, she's balancing the conference call with us to inform our listeners and our customers, but equally now managing the office. So you'll have something as simple as multiple phone ringing, or you'll have if you're somewhere in your home, maybe the pet or the spouse or the child, sometimes all of the above coming in and demanding your attention. So as difficult as it may be on a phone call, imagine if it's a video conference. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. As we invite you to call and share your thoughts with us. And we had a number of individuals equally sharing their perspective relative to what they think the country should look like, when it reopens, when it should reopen, and in many respects, what we should be looking at when we come into reopen, as it were. And it's one of those instances where some have great semblance of visionary leadership, others, even for them, hindsight is still blinding. Yeah. But the question is, are we having a shared objective in terms of our approach? Well, those are the things we want to get into. 949-8037. Now, we were, speaking earlier to Ms. Tracy, and unfortunately, for some reason, I'm not able to hear her. So there's still one more challenge that this sort of long distance relationship has. Not unlike, the physical, leveraging of technology. We could literally be across the street, or we could be, thousands of miles apart. All right. Ms. Tracy? Yeah, hello? Alrighty. Well, Ms. Susan, let me know that I am not talking into an open void. And to our listeners, we sincerely apologize to you and to Ms. Tracy. It's just the technology. Nobody needs to press a button inadvertently nor deliberately. These things happen, and I think that is probably one of the, the great frustrations that we've all experienced. We may have been willing and able to justify our comments and say, oh, that internet service provider. But it's not always that. Ms. Tracy, apologies to you. These things happen, and we're not quite sure why sometimes.
I know, and I haven't been too fluent in some of my responses because sometimes your voice fades out, and we have construction going on. So I apologize to the listening and listening public, because sometimes it was hard for me to hear, and I was struggling sometimes to hear the question. And I have an open door policy, and my staff's coming in and out sometimes. So, but I'm back.
Well, no, thank you, and again to you and to our listeners, equally we apologize. And I know if Ms. Susan doesn't mind me sort of talking out of school, I know that she gets, she's one of those people who are very, very, deliberate and dedicated to her job and wants it to be absolutely perfect, And sometimes the internet connection, I've had to upgrade at my expense to make sure that this thing works. And even then, sometimes it just doesn't work. And it isn't because more of us are using it. It's the same number of people. It's just that maybe there are more people elsewhere. I don't know. So not to worry. Our apologies that you don't hear us correctly. We'll get it fixed. But as we close out, though, we're asking how many people thus far have sort of signed up to you, and then how do they?
Okay, so
They
for
get,
the joint initiative that small businesses can get financing up to 50,000, they need to go through the business center first. So they can email at cicbd@gov.ky. Their telephone is 244-8009. That's the small business center. That's if they want to avail of the $50,000 loan. Anything above that amount, we have been open now for the past 3 weeks. They can call CIDB's main line and set up an appointment with one of the lenders. Our main line is 949-7511. We only do appointments only because we have to practice social distancing here, and the banking hall is relatively small, so they have to call and make an appointment to see a lender.
Well, again, that's the thing that we recognize, that this is a different environment. Maybe it won't be this way for much longer, but who knows? What we're told by the politicians: never let a good crisis go to waste. So we don't know what will come. What would be your final sort of quick closing thoughts to your customers out there? What should they do? Obviously, keep in contact with you and your bank to keep them, you informed of their progress. But what would you say to them?
Well, I think you touched on it, Dwayne, that communication is key. If you're having any financial difficulties, the first person you should call is your banker. We're here. We provide counseling. We may be able to look at something a little bit differently. And the business center also has qualified accountants that will help you with business plans. They can look at your company's operations and perhaps see where you can trim some of the expenses and maybe where you're overextending yourself in some cases. So there is help available, and I encourage people to look at those resources and make those phone calls. You're not in it alone. We're all here to help.
And that's the thing, the help is not far away. Just, don't, sadly, like many of us, we, for example, may have not had contact with a friend for a long time, and in a week, then a month, and before you know it, it's a year or a decade, and you just, embarrassed to reach out with your bank. Make sure if it's a day late, you reach out all the time and keep that communication open. So thanks very much. And if ever, just even a quick phone call to help your customers or listeners to be informed, please let us know how we can help in any time, in any way.
All right. Thank you for having me on, Dwayne.
It's a pleasure. And enjoy the rest of your week. May it be very safe and productive, but also, relaxing as well, Get a chance to sip, a little bit of lemonade, perhaps a little swanky, who knows, some coconut water. So all the best to you, Ms. Tracy.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And to our listeners, thank you so much. Again, I know I can say clearly that, when we come back from this break, we got a chance to chat more about the operations of customs and border control. So please stay tuned.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
There's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Central Caribbean Marine Institute will host 2 decades of resilience on the reefs of Little Cayman. The Reef Lecture will be held online on Wednesday, July 22nd, starting at 12 noon, and registration is required. For more information, visit reefresearch.org. In international news, researchers say falling fertility rates mean nearly every country could have shrinking populations by the end of the century. Researchers showed the global fertility rate nearly halved to 2.4 in 2017 and projects it will fall below 1.7 by the year 2100. As a result, it's expected the number of people on the planet will peak at 9.7 billion around 2064 before falling down to 8.8 billion by the end of the century. China has vowed to retaliate after the U.S. ended Hong Kong's preferential trade status and imposed sanctions on officials who crack down on rights. President Donald Trump said he was acting because China had taken away Hong Kong's freedom after it imposed a new security law. Nick Cannon has been fired from his MTV show Wild 'N Out and other work for the channel's parent company, which said he had promoted anti-Semitic comments. Viacom CBS said a recent episode of his podcast, Cannon's Class, promoted hateful speech and spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Those are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
your voice, your choice, your radio.
Green Turtle. Modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
You've spent a lot of time with your kitchen appliances lately. Did you realize just how old or out of date they really are? If you're thinking of upgrading or replacing your old kitchen appliances, there is only one place to go: Brand Source Home Gallery. They're having a 15% off sale on GE appliances this month. That's right, save 15% off on all GE appliances now through the end of July. You will love the savings and the look of your fresh new appliances from Brand Source Home Gallery in Industrial Park on Dorsey Drive. Call 623-5000 for more information.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, and it's a pleasure to invite our listeners to tune into our YouTube channel, because in the studio you get a chance to see some of our brightest and our finest. We have the Deputy Director at CBC, Mr. Kevin Walton, and Assistant Director, Mr. Gregory Ebanks. Gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Sterling, and good afternoon to your listening public. It's happy to be here again. We started off on Monday, myself and the director, but today I've brought along with me Mr. Gregory Ebanks, who is the manager, assistant director in charge of the courier section and the parcel post section. Greg?
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having us here as well. Really appreciate the honor of sharing some of our knowledge with our customers.
Very much appreciated. Again, we wish that we were in there with you as well, but as we still, work remotely, we get things done, and I can only imagine how challenging it must be for your team and the entire staff. Deputy Director, if I may ask, though, we saw the press release with a significant increase in the number of imports. Certainly want us to maybe expound further on that, but to share with us, how do we go about importing things, and if there are any changes, some of the things we should or should not be doing. But initially, speak to the increase in the volume, perhaps.
Yes, I can do so, but I'd like to say that we are not too used to working from home, Dwayne.
There are some jobs where
although some of us did enjoy that. I took some time to work from home myself, but offices have been working ever since as normal. I could start off with imports for the year, if you don't mind, starting from January.
Yes, please.
Yes, in January we had approximately 14,000 imports. In February, it was basically the same amount, 14,000. Coming up to March, it decreased a bit, just below 14,000. And then, of course, in April, when we were in lockdown, full lockdown, imports were at 9,000. when we started to gradually come out of the lockdown, we started to see imports climb back up to 13,000. That would have been in March.
Mm-hmm.
However, in July, there was an explosion. We had approximately 18,000 imports, the most imports we have ever had recorded through our system was in June.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding. I guess we've been locked down so much we keep on forgetting the months. And then, and this month thus far, I just looked at it before I came to this talk show, we have had 8,669 imports for July alone.
Halfway through the month already.
Yeah, yes.
Now, respectfully, what it is to maybe someone have ordered things January, February, March, and because of what I'm gathering, the obvious challenges and logistics of getting things from other places to here, is that part of what is accounting for the increases we're seeing now as more and more jurisdictions open and more access to aircraft, whether ships or...
Well, the logistics as far as the route of transportation never really slowed down that much for the Cayman Islands because we did have a continuous flow of cargo coming in via sea and by air. Cayman Airways cargo and has always been the main transport of cargo. Matter of fact, we have had an increase in cargo coming in, obviously. And the couriers themselves continued to bring in their charter flights. So it wasn't really too much of a as it relates to cargo being erupted in any way as far as the transportation. What we are linking this to more is the restriction on travel, where persons are not able to travel overseas and do their regular shopping. They're now staying at home and online shopping and bringing their goods in. In addition to that, the local consumption of food items, etc., and other items that would be purchased by persons traveling overseas are now being imported by businesses. So the trend has now changed, has switched.
Mm-hmm. And with that, now, as we track our statistics and the like with increases, are we able to say whether it's statistically speaking, the increase is from where established businesses importing more goods, or the individuals bringing in more goods?
It's a mixture, but the individuals has definitely increased. Out of the 18,000 imports, and you have to understand how we are structured as an organization, we have various sections that deal with various imports. For example, our collection section is the largest area, which we deal with 69% of our overall revenue collection. They deal with air and sea cargo, mainly for businesses, but they still have consolidators who bring in shipments for small businesses and individuals as well. And then you have the courier section, where Mr. Ebanks' section, and that's primarily courier imports, and a lot of that are individual imports. And then we have the parcel post section, where we have imports coming in through parcel, air parcel, as well. And then we have the inbound section in customs, where it's primarily alcohol, tobacco, and fuel. It's a mixture of imports, but the individual imports has caused the boost, and that's mainly what we're seeing happening. I could ask Mr. Greg if he wants to add to that.
No, I think you identified the various outlets.
Yeah. I also asked Mr. Ebanks about the courier, but before I did, Mr. Walton, if I could just ask the question whether it's for you, Mr. Ebanks, to able to respond. In terms of the imports, given the outline you just gave on the categories, are we seeing increases in certain areas, household goods, for instance, building supplies, cars, or are we able to see what makes up the largest, say, top three areas of the imports?
Most of them are food items, and clothing. A lot of clothing is coming in. Personal household goods. Yeah, the vehicles actually have slowed down now. We had a few vehicles came in after COVID-19. After we opened up a bit, the ships did bring in some vehicles, but vehicles are kind of level off. Construction has started back, so we do have construction imports coming in, and we see an increase in that area as well.
Okay. And then, Mr. Ebanks, from the perspective of the sort of international couriers and the like that come in, I think some of us, as Mr. Walton shared, recognized that the shipping lanes were open and perhaps busier than ever. A lot of flights, if not so much commercial, but cargo, were in operation, presumably from the information we received. In the Cayman context, then, how is that working? So the individual household or the organization has now been able to continue receiving their international courier packages?
Yes, of course. The majority of the processes that I cater to, it's to do with primarily individuals that utilize the online purchases, especially like the Amazon and so forth, and that has the volume has increased tremendously. So it's like Mr. Walton emphasized early on, due to the fact of the travel restrictions. This is the method that our locals are actually utilizing in purchasing their goods.
And that's the thing, we see how perhaps now, if people forgive my reference to geography, how, much the world has flattened in recent times with interconnectedness, Mr. Walton.
Yes, globalization is definitely upon us. And one thing we must understand, although the increases have increased, we have also deployed additional officers and support staff to manage this increase, because we have the airports are now closed. So officers from the airports have been deployed to the trade and revenue section, and has now boosted that, personnel that's needed to manage this. And so we're managing the amount of imports very well. We did have some capacity challenges with our transit shade as far as the imports were concerned from Cayman Airways charter cargo flights. And let me tell you, they bring a lot when those charters land. So we had to shift around and remove some stuff from our transit shade in order to manage that amount. In addition to that, we encourage persons to collect their cargo earlier, as soon as possible when it comes via air. And ever since, it's been working pretty well. We are able to manage the amount of cargo that's coming in via air. But the important thing is that we have deployed officers to manage the increase.
And in addition to that as well, there's actually an increase of air cargo. With some days we have like 2 flights, which usually we normally have 1. So there's a significant increase as well with the air cargo side of things with courier and collections. And in addition to supporting Mr. Walton regarding the additional resources that we do have, we've actually prepared a schedule where we make every effort to complete every declaration in a reasonable amount of time, that when the couriers and the individuals submit to customs, that we actually have hands-on in seeing that this is done in a timely manner. So we have facilitated, our adjustments with our schedule as well.
Yeah, we actually have shift systems as well, to be able to manage, because there are times that decorations come in differently. For example, the couriers will start to submit 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. When you're actually bringing through the collections, we see the imports starting at 9 o'clock in the morning through our system. So we have staggered shift systems in order to manage the amount of decorations coming in at any given time. And I must say that we have a notice out there for 24 hours for clearance. That is merely for the consolidated shipments, and I want to explain the difference between consolidated shipments and individual shipments. Consolidated shipments are, for example, 1 container that arrives with possibly 300 people's different items in it. And that in itself, 300 imports in 1 container, is going to take more time than just 1 individual import. So when you have a consolidated shipment, may it be through a consolidated broker, Miracle Brokers, CICA, NCI, Easyway, or you have it through the couriers, who is FedEx, DHL, UPS, and Sprint. Those individual imports take more time, those consolidated shipments take more time than individual imports. Normally, individual imports are dealt with within a day. Matter of fact, I've seen imports coming in and dealt with within 1 to 2 hours. I actually had a lady
minutes.
Yeah, I've had a lady that come up to me and said, I was submitting 3 decorations before I could finish the second one. The first one was already cleared. By the time I finished the second one, if I got to the third one, the second one was cleared. So we're very efficient when it comes to clearing the shipments. There are other factors that could slow down the entire process. It's not only just the volume, but the compliance level, and we try to get that message out there so that the public will understand what is needed, what is your responsibility as an importer. It's not just your courier, your broker service that is responsible for your import, is also you. The first thing that you need to do is to make sure that you communicate with your broker or your agent to determine what is needed in order for you to get your shipment cleared. For example, you need to appoint them as an agent. An appointment of agent, don't wait till your goods arrive and land in the Cayman Islands and says, okay, I'm going to appoint them as agent today. We're encouraging you to appoint them an agent at least 48 hours before the arrival of your goods, because that appointment of agent also goes through a process. So you go on, you fill out a form, you provide your broker, your courier service with that form completed by you and signed and dated, and a copy of your driver's license or passport, preferably a color copy, and you give that to them so that they'll have that and they can submit it to us. We will look at it, verify it, and then you now becomes that courier or broker now becomes your agent based on your appointment. In addition to that, we have been receiving a lot of shipments that are not coming within any invoices. We don't know the value of the goods. We have no idea what's inside. We're working very closely with our broker companies and couriers to make sure that they're remaining compliant. But up to 40% of the imports that are coming through, especially through those consolidated shipments, come without any invoices whatsoever. So that in itself slows down the process. And if you have a consolidated shipment with 300 persons goods in there, and one person or two people don't have the necessary information, it slows down the other 298 or 299 shipments because it's one shipment. So providing the necessary invoices, supplier's invoice, sales invoice to your broker or to your courier prior to the goods coming here will also help to speed up the process. And these are tips that we try to give to our the customers, our importers, so that we could have the information beforehand and we could start a process before the goods actually get here.
Sorry, Mr. Banks, go ahead, sir.
In addition to that, frequently customers reach out to us and we guide them accordingly with how to obtain their invoices. The invoices are actually in their email. They just basically download the invoice and print it off and give it to the agent. But they're thinking some screenshots and so forth that doesn't capture the particulars that we're looking for, which caters to who is actually shipping the goods, who the goods are actually consigned to, in addition to maybe some additional charges. So in essence, that has been an indicator of delays with the couriers and I guess the consolidators as well. Obtaining the proper documentation.
Yeah, they're actually taking screenshots. Some even take photos on their phone instead actually downloading the invoice on what the link that you've been provided and emailing that invoice, that proper invoice, to your courier or your broker service will help us immensely in speeding your clearances up for you.
Now, with respect to that, so your proper invoice and all the documentation, filling out the customs forms and declarations, but having the due diligence aspect of it, and the consignee and the nature of the goods, all those things, are they for those who are not as experienced with the importation process? Are they things that would be difficult to come by, or would that be something that the system is relatively user-friendly and straightforward that you should be able to provide?
If you can shop online, you can use our system. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Not for me then.
Our system is quite user-friendly. and I want to move away from the couriers and the brokers and the consolidators, because they clear your shipment. They know how to use our system. Yeah. Let's talk about individuals. Individuals, you go online and you register as an individual. If it is a business, you register as a business. If it is a company, you register the company. There are certain requirements, certain information that we require. The process is quite easy for us with the system is user-friendly. However, you do have to sit down and wait for at least 48 hours before we respond to you, because we have to do our due diligence checks as well. And remind you, the due diligence checks is to manage all necessary risks that may be involved. Once you get that, and you get your email back with your TIN number, what we call trader identification number. That TIN number you then use to log in. It's very important to understand that when you do register, you register with an email address. That email address can only be used for one particular TIN number. So if you're going to use a email address, understand that email is basically your signature. And remember your email because that is where the information is going to be communicated to you. Once you go into our system, you now then have a dashboard. And in addition to the email, you have a dashboard that you can see the updates of your import, when it has been submitted, when it has been accepted by customs, when it's being processed by customs and border control, and then when it says payment ready, come in to make payment. Unfortunately, we don't have the online payment system ready as yet, but that should be coming in this next phase. If at any time that you don't understand how to use our system, we have kiosks in our main offices. You just come there, sit down, and an officer will help you to understand how to use our system. Bearing in mind that we're there to help you to understand how to use our system, not to teach you how to use a computer. That takes up a lot of time, so we're encouraging persons to come in if you don't understand how to use the system, and we will show them. The system itself, when we first launched it back in 2017, November 2017, there were some challenges. There were some kinks we had to work out. The persons were a bit reluctant. Today, I have had testimonies on it. I mean, it's a remote. You could use our system from anywhere in the world. You could be in the comfort of your home, your office. You could be overseas and still submit your declarations. Unfortunately, we don't have the online payment ready yet, but that'll soon come. I've had testimonies where they're saying it's best thing since sliced cheese, best thing since sliced bread. It takes away from having to come in and sit down in our offices for hours waiting until we process manual declarations. Businesses are now able to save money by using our online remote access to our system, where they don't have to send their employees in 3, 4, 5 hours a day trying to clear goods. They could actually be at work doing something after they have submitted the declarations and waiting until they say, come in and pay, awaiting payment. And as we continue, we'll eventually get where you sit in your office, you make a payment online, and you receive your release online. And only if we need to see you, then you have to come to us. But otherwise, it's everything is remote.
In addition to the registration processes that Mr. Walton have shared with you, for those that are actually conducting business, your trade and business license should be also with the application, because there's benefits in conducting business as well, with including that trade and business license.
Yes, you actually have there's a concession with the 2%, right?
Exactly, that benefit, as well as when you a retail store or whatever capacity you're in to conduct such businesses.
Now, with respect to that trade and business license, and maybe we can pick it up after the break, but we'll go back to the TIN number and the individual importer. That individual is making those level of imports. Can we talk more about that after the break? Let's ask questions like, do they need an importer's license or trade and business license? This is not for resale, it's just personal use. And equally, how do they go about registering? Do they need to do it maybe we can talk about that from the perspective, as well as how long it would take to clear goods once everything is submitted and the due diligence has been done and then the release of the goods. Mr. Walton, Mr. Eubanks, maybe we can pick up those questions after the break.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay, thanks very much. We'll pause, take a short break. Mr. Kevin Walton, the Deputy Director, and his colleague, Assistant Director Gregory Eubanks, are our guests. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
We are here for you. Whether you are in extreme financial need, have lost your job, have been directly or indirectly affected by the pandemic, we are here. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan is here to assist through the Cayman Islands Government Emergency Withdrawal Program. To withdraw, visit chamberpension.ky and complete the online application form by filling in your personal details, the amount you wish to withdraw, and upload a notarized government ID such as your passport or driver's license. For information as it happens, visit chamberpension.ky or follow our social media pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We thank you for your patience as we address the high volume of email and phone queries. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. You can count on us.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
BIP, messaging made simple. Keep the good times going, even when you're social distancing. Message, call, or video chat with friends, family, co-workers, anyone. Video chat with 10 people at the same time. Send secret messages, translate multiple languages, and you get free app messaging available only on the Digicel network. It's your call, so make the most of it with BIP. Stay connected, start living, get bipping. Download BIP today.
Mommy, have you been taking your medication? No, I think I forgot to pick it up. Your doctor prescribed it for a reason, so you should be taking it regularly. I know, TD. Thanks for the reminder.
If you are elderly or vulnerable and need your prescription delivered to your home, contact the Health Services Authority Pharmacy at 949-8600. Taking your medication when prescribed is important to your health, and your health matters to us. For more information about our pharmacy hours and locations, visit hsa.ky or call 949-8600.
The Toyotathon 2020 event is going on now at Vamped Motors. Get our lowest prices of the year on a great selection of our most popular Toyotas with big savings on the new CHR Hybrid, the 7-seater Rush, the adventurous RAV4, the rugged Hilux truck, and more. You can drive home an amazing deal. Save up to $5,000. Take the full discount, get cash back, upgrade your vehicle with your savings. It's all your choice during our huge Toyotathon sales event going on through July. Don't miss out. Come to Vamped Motors for your new Toyota. Let's go places.
Help support survivors of domestic violence by believing them. Being there for them is one of the best things that you can do. Listen and hear what they need. Let them tell their story in their own way. When supporting persons experiencing domestic violence, maintain confidentiality. They have trusted you enough to share their story. Don't share it with others. If children are involved, alert the multi-agency safeguarding hub. Being there for survivors also means staying in touch. Create a code word or emoji, so if you receive or hear that from them, you will call 911. To help them, it's vital to talk to survivors about their options and help them to evaluate each one. And finally, remember that you cannot rescue survivors of domestic violence, but you can support them on their own terms. For additional support, please contact the Emergency Services, the Cayman Islands Crisis Center, the Family Resource Center, the Legal Befrienders Clinic, the Needs Assessment Unit in Grand Cayman or Cayman Brac, the Mental Health Helpline, the Kids Helpline, or the Department of Community Rehabilitation.
The Hamady family are deeply saddened to announce the passing of Robert Hamady. Due to strict government regulations, the funeral and processions taking place on Thursday, the 16th of July, will be family only to keep clearly under 25 people. Please join us on a live stream feed at 10 a.m. We're making them available at robbieyoungatheart.com and the Tortuga Facebook page. We appreciate your support.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. In the studio, we literally have the excellent company of Mr. Kevin Walton, Deputy Director at CBC, and his colleague, Assistant Director, Mr. Gregory Ebanks. Gents, hey, thanks for making yourself present and available. So really appreciate the insight.
Yes, and we're happy to be here because being transparent is very important. That helps us to get the message out there so we can make people become compliant with us. As I said earlier on Monday, it's our objective to have people compliant so that we don't have to continuously stress these points and how to use so much resources up in clearing goods. Our objective is to have a high facilitation provided to you as a trading public so you can receive your goods within a reasonable time.
All right. And something that perhaps as you were sharing earlier with reference to being able to understand how to navigate the system, I'm reminded that our very own Ms. Susan Watson has done a voice for a video on your site demonstrating how to set up the account. And, it's there. The link is on the site. So it's a video too,
Yes, she did a fabulous job. Actually, we need to make some changes to that because we have upgraded the system since then. So we have some other functionalities to the system. So I see her shaking her head. I'm pretty sure she'll be willing and offering that voice out there again for us. So we're going to soon be reaching out to her and ask her to do it for us.
We're going to do it in a rap version, Oh, man. But again, you've made the resources available. And I know sometimes unfamiliar, territory can be a bit off-putting for some. Could we then, with that, we ask what we were sort of alluding to earlier, for the individual who isn't importing for, resale. It's just maybe they're building a house, maybe they're buying something personal. Does that individual need to get a trade and business license in order to import?
No, they don't. Matter of fact, that's one of the most simple imports. As an individual, yes, personal. You go on there. I've registered within 2 minutes. I'm able to just upload my driver's license along with the information required. And as I said, do it 48 hours prior to your goods arriving so that you have time for us to do the due diligence checks. And so when your goods come, you can submit your declaration. Individual imports, as I said earlier, 1 to 2 hours in most cases they're cleared and out of there. It's when you have the consolidated shipments, there are large shipments that take some time. As it relates to our large importers like the supermarkets and the hardware stores, they already have systems in place that makes their declaration process a lot quicker. For example, our system has 2 different features. One is called a wizard, where you actually go on and you type in your import for each declaration. And then we have the XML, where it's an automatic upload. You have a file uploaded, to just take it from your system and upload it automatically to our system. That is very quick and very efficient. And most of the large traders use that functionality, and that in itself helps them to submit their declarations quick to us. And in most cases, we have relationships officers assigned specifically to those large importers that communicate with them accordingly and facilitate their trade, because obviously you don't want to be eating no spoiled food off the shelf of the supermarkets, right?
No.
Likewise, we're talking about life shelf items. a number of passengers has utilized going to, with trips, with medical checkups, since the restrictions, we're seeing a lot of their medication being channeled through, especially the couriers. And it will be the same process that they would utilize coming through as they arrive back through the airport channels as a passenger to provide that prescription. We want the agents want that important invoice and the prescription to submit that declaration immediately, so we can, right away. That's something that highly we recommend in process with our processes as well.
Matter of fact, our system actually have icons there that you click on for medication, live animals, aircraft parts, perishable items, and once we see those icons come into our system that shows that there are emergency stuff as far as medicals and equipment, we immediately pick up on those and start to process those declarations first.
They get prioritized because of the shelf life and like.
Yes.
What about in the customs hall? Just for curiosity, I was thinking back to way back when, not even Ivan, but even since and prior. Sometimes there'll be many of us in the hall. I know you referenced it earlier. You also shared the notion that businesses now, by using the automated systems, are able to do this stuff online, and the employees can engage in the activities while their goods are being processed. But do you still see long lines of people inside?
No, our parking lot is, since COVID-19 the increase of imports, our parking lot has gotten a little bit more busy, especially last month and again this month. But in most cases, it's almost like a ghost town. There's no more manual declarations, Dwayne. You can't come inside there with paper and submit to us anymore. Everything is done remotely and electronically. So all the declarations are online. There's no more manual declaration. It's only persons who come to pay for their goods, or they come there for an inspection is required. They have to show up for inspection. I was reading an email yesterday. It was a joke when I read it. I know the person was being sarcastic, but I have to just kind of share this one. When we respond to you, it says you're needed for an inspection. That means that you come in and we conduct an inspection of your goods. So the email was sent to the importer. It says we need you need to show up for an inspection. The person responds back, how should I dress? What part of me are you planning on inspecting first?
What's your best beer?
I know the individual was neither the two, to be honest with you, but I know them to be quite funny, So I laughed at the email and I said, if we didn't know who it was, we probably would just.
It's humor, yes.
It's humor that gets us through, right, Mr. Banks? But what about then? Sorry, go ahead, sir.
What we're also have a lot of attention drawn to is becoming highly offering customer service with a lot of the agents as well. There's never a day go across that I don't that 10 to 12 people don't reach out to me, and I just basically guide them accordingly. But we're playing a vital role in catering to customer service for our agents.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, as you share, a significant amount of revenue, for the government coffers. But if I could just rewind this quick second just to confirm and clarify it with respect to showing up either for the inspection or to make the in-person payment. Do people come, for example, for payment when you request them to come, or do they just show up? How does that happen?
No, the communication happens on the dashboard or via email. They'll receive an email to say your shipment is ready for payment. Your import is ready for payment. So you just, at that time, you come in. And there's no sense coming before that. I think we've had some persons that show up beforehand and have to wait around because they didn't get a notification as yet.
That's true. The collection section. A courier company probably may engage with. There's one courier company alone could probably engage with 200 to 300 individuals per the day. Hence, if we had to basically have 200 to 300 people waiting at our at the courier companies to pay, that's not feasible at all. What happens is we bill the courier companies, and they in turn, charge their customers. And a lot of them do have accounts with the various couriers as well, so that alleviates, the lines as well. If you do, a lot of the business have accounts, so their goods are basically delivered to them, and they wouldn't have to, stand in the long lines and so forth.
Yeah. The way to make payment is normally 15 minutes to 30 minutes at the collections unit. Sometimes it'll be extended a bit longer, but now because of COVID-19 and the amount of imports that we have in, we only allow 5 persons in our office at a time. So we have some persons have to stand outside and wait until they're allowed to come in. And that process has now slowed down because the amount of imports and the COVID-19 requirements. So expect to spend a little bit more time when you come in to make a payment at this current time.
And payment can be by debit card or some sort of electronic payment, check on or cash?
Yes, debit, credit, cash, a check. We don't accept personal checks. It is either a company check or business check that we accept.
Okay, and just then again to look at the payment option. Once the dashboard identifies you that you're now ready to make your payment, is there a time limit after which the person has to show up before that sort of falls away, or they can come a day later or a year later? I mean, is there something that they should consider?
Yeah, don't show up a year later because your storage will be quite high. The next day, we don't start our storage until 7 days. So you could keep your goods there, but we're not encouraging that right now. Neither is the Port Authority. The Port Authority is asking you to collect your goods as soon as possible because they have also seen a large increase of imports on their end. So you can take your time and come and pay. You don't have to come immediately, but our office hours are 8:30 to 4, Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 12 on Saturdays to make those payments. But as I said, Dwayne, we're hoping to have that done in this phase that you can pay online.
All right. Well, listen, let's quickly pause and take this final break, and then when you come back, continue to remind us, inform us, and perhaps update us some more. So please stay tuned.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Hey, hon, what you doing?
Putting things away in the shed since it's hurricane season. Preparing for the better.
Don't you mean preparing for the worst?
No, for the better. Since we have Brit-K Insurance, we're fully covered against hurricanes. Plus, they have response teams ready to help us file a claim faster. If I were preparing for the worst, I'd watch football all day.
Still don't get it.
Isn't there a match on?
Oh, really?
Let Brit-K prepare you for the better this hurricane season. Call 949-8699 or visit Brit-K.ky.
Headlines. With the latest headlines.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
As the community continues to take precautions from COVID-19, it is important to stay prepared for other disasters now that we're in the hurricane season. Here are some post-hurricane safety tips from the Department of Environmental Health. Did you know that you must discard fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, foods in canisters, dented, leaking, or rusting cans after they have come in contact with floodwater? For full guidance on post-hurricane safety tips, visit www.deh.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. In the studio, we have the Deputy Director from Customs and Border Control, Mr. Kevin Walton, and his colleague, Assistant Director, Mr. Gregory Ebanks. Gents, I know that you have until 2 p.m. and thank you for sharing the hour with us. Could we just revisit again the TIN number, the trader identification number? That's necessary for any and all importers, the individual as well as the licensed importer. Is that our understanding?
Yes, it identifies you individually.
Okay, and with that, now, could we just again, for clarity, one of our listeners were asking a message. If you had previously set up online, would you have to do it again, even if the import was a very, very long time ago?
No, once you receive, as an individual, a registered trailer, that TIN number stays with you. Same thing with your business, same thing with your company. However, when you appoint an agent, if you appoint FedEx, that is for FedEx. When you go to do DHL, it's going to be a different one for DHL, and so on. We are looking to enhance our system. We recognize that it puts a lot on the brokers and consolidators and couriers to have some of them has been said they had to actually chase people down and beg them to complete this form, and that's why we keep reiterating that it's important. This particular appointment of agent is very important. The law requires it. It protects you as the importer, the owner of the goods, as well as it protects your broker or your courier service, and it links you to your shipment. So having that authority, that appointment of agent, is very essential. I actually read some social media, some of the comments, and I don't think people appreciate and understand the importance of the appointment of agent form. That needs to be completed. What we're planning on doing is actually reversing it, where it actually allows the importer, the owner of the goods, to go into our system, automated system, and appoint agents accordingly. So you would actually go in and appoint an agent, and then you will get your TIN numbers from doing so. That's our new upgrade to our system that should soon come online.
Okay, and with that in mind, you referenced earlier about online payments. What sort of target date? I know you said soon come, but is it like tomorrow or is it next week or?
Next phase.
Yeah, we do a Scrum Agile approach, and in our development, and we have learned that putting deadlines on building out technology is always not a good thing to do, because there's always something that happens with it that we have to go back and change or fix. The phase is started 1st of July and it will run for the next 3 months. So we're expecting to have it done within the next 3 months. And we have prioritized some of the build-outs that is going to happen in the next 3 months. And online payment is one of the top priorities, I remember. But I wanted to explain that it is a Scrum Agile approach we're taking to online payments as well. We will go with credit card, debit card payments online first, and then we'll go to the EFT, which is electronic funds transfer. But you have to understand that we will not be offering that to everyone. The reason why: you submit, for example, a work permit today to Works, and you pay, you do an electronic funds transfer to them. That happens, but it doesn't happen immediately. That transfer takes sometime a day if you're doing from bank to bank, and then it goes in. And then it goes and it hits the entire government banking system, and then you have to reconcile to find that payment for Dweeny Banks, for example, for a work permit application. Work applications normally take up to a month before they're processed. Now, you importing goods, you want your goods immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
Using the EFT is not going to be the perfect thing to do. So EFT, we will have that available, but it's going to be for companies, large companies that have what we call bonds with customs, bank guarantees, cash deposits. They will have that facility available to them, so they can make those payments at online bank transfers to the accounts, and we can do the reconciliation after. And then we'll allow them to have their goods because they have bank guarantees and they have cash deposits with us.
I guess it comes back to maybe one of the a separate topic, but to emphasize the importance of technology, maybe the banking system could be upgraded to facilitate those sorts of things. Could we then ask, then, from that perspective, two things? Given that other government departments have now transitioned to being able to accept online payments, and we gave the example with work, but other things, maybe this system you're going to be using is going to be a proprietary system for CBC, or is it going to be utilizing some of the available technologies?
Our objective is to build our own system, manage our own system, and have ownership of our own system. Because if you're paying, what's the price again? What's the cost again for a police record? $25?
Right.
Yeah. Work permitted. Some of them at $350. Most of them at $300, $350. Some go up to a larger amount.
Mm-hmm.
We have payments sometime doing in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't want to be using any online systems to make those sort of payments. We have to build that and secure that very much, because we can't expose anyone's credit details or banking details out there, because there's large sums of money that is paid to Customs and Border Control. They're not small fees.
Well, let us ask then maybe a couple of quick questions in closing. Certainly the time is there if you wish to continue after, but assuming everything is in place, all the forms have been submitted, declarations have been filed, everything is in place, all the due diligence, and you're ready now to pay, how long would it take normally for after all that's complete before the person receives that call or notification through the dashboard that they can now come in to pay? What sort of target?
Our target, to be honest with you, Dwayne, is for small imports, individual imports. We target to have that within a day cleared. Yeah. When it comes to large consolidated shipments through couriers, that's FedEx, DHL, Sprint, UPS, consolidated shipments through Seeker, Miracle Brokers, Easyway, USDU, NCI. I can't remember them all from the top of my head because every day we have a new one coming online. Those are consolidated shipments. It's not just one individual shipment. It's not just a supermarket or a hardware store submitting a declaration with one import. It's one container, for example, with 300 different importers in that one container. So that's 300 different imports attached to that. That particular import takes up to 24 hours. But be mindful, our officers are doing it within a day and a matter. So if they submit, how the submissions go, it's not just one thing comes in. Yes, it comes in as one thing, but it's all broken down into individual importers. So we go through and we just start clearing each import as they are and continue to go. So that process, we say 24 hours just to make sure that we don't disappoint anyone. But in most cases, those shipments are cleared within one day as well. As I said, we have a shift system set that officers work according to the peak times. The declarations come in to try to cover those peak times. And we have been meeting that 24-hour. There are times, and we must understand this, there are times that we don't clear you within 24 hours. We don't clear you within 48 hours because your shipment is not compliant. We may have to do an inspection, or they may be because you don't have a agricultural permit to import plants, or it may be that you don't have a business license, or it may be that you have the incorrect tariff codes identified on your shipment. There's other reasons why your shipment is then suspended, and that in its case is not going to take one day to clear. It's going to take longer. So that's why we try to encourage people, educate people on what our requirements are, so that they're prepared when they make their declarations, that it is not a delay in the process. And that's part and parcel why we're here today, so that we can be transparent with our processes, get it out there to the public so they understand what is the requirements. And we've been having a lot of social media out there blaming customs for a lot of the slowdowns in imports. And I can assure you that that is not the case always. In most cases, we clear our shipments within the time period. What I do suggest to people that when you do select a broker, when you do select a courier, you do your due diligence checks with them as well. Ask them how much resources they have. Ask them what type of technology they have in a framework in place. You have some people who are using their internet speed is 2 megahertz, 3 megahertz, and trying to upload a large import. It's going to take time. It's going to slow down the process. You have individuals who are trying to handle 300 imports but only got 2 employees. Find out from your brokers whether or not they have the resources to meet these demands that are happening on their end. Find out from them, do you have bonds with customs? Can you get your goods released easily with customs instead of having to wait until to pay before you get your goods? Ask those questions. And I must say that some of the delays that we're having is because some of the brokers are not paying, and we have to hold their stuff until they pay. And they don't have any bank bonds. They don't have any bank guarantees with us. So we have no alternative but to hold the goods until they pay. And that is causing some of the delays as well.
So you, the individual, then would probably suffer as a result of unpaid amount. No, Mr. Walton, Ms. Debanks, we have the time available if you wish. We don't want to impose, but if there are other things that you wish to, perhaps explain or clarify or even, continue the discussion, do you want to conclude now or join us after the break? What's best for your schedule?
No, we continue. We are here to enlighten everyone. Matter of fact, we want to run over some of the more important points that we mentioned before we leave the talk show.
Well, yes. Perfect, sir. Yes. All right. Well, let's return after the news, and to our listeners, stay tuned.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by GreenTurtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Salmons. The Cayman Islands Health Minister, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, addressed concerns from members of the community about the health insurance premium payment assistance program. Mr. Seymour confirms that the HIC has processed the following. 77 applications have been approved for payment of April premiums, resulting in $83,872 in cost, and 140 applications were approved for payment of May premium, resulting in $123,777 in costs. In international news, the pandemic has led to a sharp fall in the number of children around the world being vaccinated, the UN says. The decline in immunization against diphtheria, tetanus, and whooping cough over the first 4 months of the year is the first in nearly 3 decades. South Africa has introduced new restrictions, including another ban on alcohol sales, to help contain the spread of coronavirus. This is South Africa's second ban this year, which is to take pressure off the national healthcare system. Researchers say falling fertility rates mean nearly every country could have shrinking populations by the end of the century. Researchers showed the global fertility rate nearly halved to 2.4 in 2017 and projects it will fall below 1.7 by the year.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by GreenTurtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us, and a special thanks to our colleagues and friends from the Customs and Border Control, Deputy Director Mr. Kevin Walton and his colleague Assistant Director Mr. Gregory Ebanks. Gents, very important topic, a lot of information to share, and it's timely that our populace understands the importation process. As we're going through a bit, Mr. Walton, you said there were certain things that you wanted to sort of reiterate and emphasize.
Yes, but some things I kind of didn't get to as well. And it's very important, in addition to all of the trade aspect of things, we are also responsible for protecting our borders. We have to protect our borders from any illegal substances such as drugs, firearms, etc. from entering our islands. So our inspections are not always geared towards determining or verifying your contents as for duty purposes, but also to determine if you have anything illegal in there. Officers, we use an intelligence-led risk management approach. We use compliance management, and we target individual shipments that we have interest in. So it's very important to understand that our job is not only just to, charge duties on goods. We also have a lot of prohibited and restricted goods that we must look out for. And we're also, under the anti-money laundering regime, we also have to be compliant as a jurisdiction as it relates to money declarations and the transportation of money and the smuggling of money across our borders. So we have a huge responsibilities, and it's not just as it relates to finding out how much you got inside your shipment, as far as you got to charge you some duties. There's a lot of other important reasons why we do inspections, why we check, why we do a due diligence check, why we take time to clear goods, and I think that people have gotten to the position where they think that, goods arrive, I need it right now. How long did it take before it arrived here?
Yeah.
How long was it inside there before you actually get it on Cayman Airways and got it over here? So we have to protect our borders as well. We just can't just let things pass by, or we have another problem on our hands. I think Mr. Ebank wanted to add something as far as the invoices are concerned.
Yes, sir.
In addition to that, too, we see in the medical field as well, a lot of teas are being imported, and a lot they're coming with hemp inside of those, and it calls for a prescription. And if you don't have a prescription for those goods, those type of goods are restricted. So in essence, to have that clearance, make sure that you have all the required medical documents to accompany that clearance.
Okay, that's a good point. Maybe I could ask, just on that alone, just to clarify, we've seen in our supermarkets, not just, globally, but right here in our own supermarkets, that's prior to this whole scenario, you could go into a supermarket and you'll see milk or powder-based or some lotion or some product or the like that has hemp, hemp milk or hemp in itself. Is that, like the tea, a prohibited substance that you require a special certification, prescription, license, or the like?
The misuse of drugs law was amended in 2017 to allow CBD oils and other prescriptions for patients. Prior to that, the law spoke to THC. However, THC was removed from the 2017 law, and restrictions were then placed on anything with cannabinol in it. And hemp does have cannabinol. However, historically, traditionally, hemp has been used in products, the making of clothing, and other products that we consume.
Right.
And historically, those products has been imported into the Cayman Islands. It has been a challenge for CBC for some time because there's no regulations in place as yet to guide CBC how do we handle the imports of such goods, nor is it there for the distribution of such goods. So in the absence of having that regulation, we're now left with the challenge of deciding what should we allow and what should not allow to come across our borders. We just did an internal review of it, and the internal policy. We allow products made of hemp, because hemp has a very low, I think it's 0.03 or something like that, of THC in it. Allow those products that are made with hemp to cross our borders. It's when it comes to for the medical purposes of consuming the product for medical purposes or therapeutic purposes is where we decide to apply the law, where you actually have to get a doctor's prescription from a medical doctor in the Cayman Islands to actually import those products. So if you is it clear as mother?
You always say it's almost as clear as the political party's manifesto, but don't worry, we get there.
Yes.
It's the challenges that we're facing in this new environment. Huh?
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's nothing easy with Customs and Border Control. We have a very complex and complicated jobs to carry out, and we have a lot of different laws that we enforce at the borders, and that's what I was trying to explain earlier, that it's not just about our tariffs and collecting duties. There's other laws that we have to enforce. We have the agriculture law, we have the misuse of drugs law, we have the firearms law, we have the customs law, we have many other laws that we have to enforce as far as the cross-border transaction of people, goods, and carriers. And it's not just one item that we're dealing with, yeah?
With that in mind, if we could perhaps emphasize, I know earlier you shared that, we're trying to transition electronically and create that platform where we use the technology to complete our forms, and not only to reduce the amount of people interacting in person, but there are those of us who like to be able to pick up the telephone, for instance, and call someone and say, okay, I'm trying to do this, and get some guidance with great respect. Is there a number or a person that we can call if we have a concern about a declaration? We submitted electronically, we've done all the stuff, but something is just not right. I know me personally, I'd rather sit down and talk to you face to face, if not, a phone call, but this is a different world. Is there something like that? Is some number somehow?
Yes, we do have our direct number, which is 949-4579. And you didn't select from that if no one answers. We have what you call a call support group. And you could email us at that, as well as you can call the call support group. There are several numbers, extensions that line will then put you through to, and it rings like 4 or 5 different telephones. But officers' times are taking up so long on those telephones that you may call now, you may call again later, you may call again later, and we're busy because they're there helping customers that are online. We have planned a call center, or a customer call center plan for the very near future, where we could directly deal with these sort of issues. And thanks that you brought it up. We have recognized that we need to still have that one-on-one with our customers rather than trying to do everything electronically. And we're going to continue to budget for it, let's put it that way, and hopefully it'll be approved very soon.
In addition to Mr. Walton shared as well regarding duty-free items, the government of the day had actually immediately took into effect that masks, sanitizers, and as well as surgical gloves were allowed in duty-free. What we also, take very keen interest in making sure that individuals are not bringing in testing kits for COVID-19. In order to import such testing kits, it has to be channeled through the HSA, the chief medical officer, to get permission to import. We've stopped quite a number of individuals bringing in these test kits in because perhaps they may not have been adequate, as well as may not give the proper statistics for the government of the day as well. So there were some things that we had to pay strict attention to when people were clearing such items.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just Greg. Thanks for reminding. That's very important. Yeah, it's a control mechanism actually to ensure that the government do have an idea of the amount of tests that are done on the island, and not even that, the type of test kits that are being brought in are up to the necessary requirements.
Yeah, well, certainly something there to consider. Now, gents, we have the final break to take. Always find that these subjects not only help to illuminate some things that we may have glossed over in the past, but also help to, shine light on some things that we may not have known. Do you want to take the remaining 13 or so minutes to recap, or time is yours if you wish?
We have 13 minutes more, you said?
Yeah.
I'd love to share Mr. Dwayne, I would like to also on our Facebook page as well as our website is to have our customers engage with some of the processes that we've shared with you through there when they're making their clearances and so they can actually get ahead of the game in regards of registration, making sure they got the proper documentation, like Mr. Walton emphasized with the invoices, making sure that they download the invoices instead of taking these snap shots and sending them in, because they're not adequate at all, because it doesn't tell you who it's actually coming from, who's it consigned to. So that make sure that when you submit something to customs, that you have good confidence, your composure, and even input in the data, that it's adequate, it's accurate, so that this slows you down from not getting your packages in a timely manner. So make sure technically you're good. Make sure you have good knowledge of what you're doing. If not, seek. There's agents out there, and this can be reach at the ultimate goal of speed in delivering your goods in a timely manner. So regarding time bound, that's very crucial for you to make sure that you have all of these sequences of steps in place prior to the goods coming.
All right, gents, we got a final break to take. When we come back, if you have less than 10 minutes, so we've got a very complimentary message to share with you from a listener.
That would be nice to know.
Yeah. So stay tuned. We'll talk today.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Mommy, have you been taking your medication?
No, I think I forgot to pick it up.
Your doctor prescribed it for a reason, so you should be taking it regularly.
I know, TD. Thanks for the reminder.
If you are elderly or vulnerable and need your prescription delivered to your home, contact the Health Services Authority Pharmacy at 949-8600. Taking your medication when prescribed is important to your health, and your health matters to us. For more information about our pharmacy hours and locations, visit hsa.ky or call 949-8600.
We are now in the hurricane season, and to survive a hurricane, you need to be informed. If you have been informed by official sources that a hurricane is approaching the Cayman Islands, and you live in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding or near the beaches, which may be swept by high tides or storm waves, please seek a safe place and high ground. If the only way for you to get to a safe place is a road that is also likely to be flooded during a storm, please leave home early. Don't run the risk of being stranded. This has been a public service announcement from your community station, Radio Cayman.
The Hamady family are deeply saddened to announce the passing of Robert Hamady. Due to strict government regulations, the funeral and processions taking place on Thursday, the 16th of July, will be family only to keep clearly under 25 people. Please join us on a live stream feed at 10 a.m. We're making them available at robbieyoungatheart.com and the Tortuga Facebook page. We appreciate your support.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, and again, a special thanks for the extended time, but for the pertinent information as well to both Mr. Kevin Walton and Mr. Greg Ebanks. Gents, thanks much. Can I start off, as we conclude this segment, reading a quick WhatsApp message that was sent through. Says, I just left from the customs office at the airport, and I wanted the guests on the show to know that the staff are very friendly, and the young leader there in the lobby who was there assisting the public did so in a very professional and courteous manner. And it's good to hear, Teslas, because we do know there are times when sometimes the comments are not always complimentary.
Yes, and thanks for that, Dwayne, and it reminds me to thank our team, the entire CBC team, and not only just officers, support staff, as well as our management and our accounts and finance department, our IT department, our HR department. A big thank you. We have again met the challenge of COVID-19, and we have come out of it, I would say, in a better place. We have been able to understand the challenges and meet those challenges, and now we're using that as a platform to be able to plan for continuity as we go along. And I must say that we had a continuity plan from time we understood of COVID-19. That continuity plan has allowed us to reach the place we're at now today, and the continuity plan continues for us to help us manage through these trying times. And we did have a risk management based on intelligence, that we knew that imports were going to increase. There was going to be a shift from the airport travel to the imports through the courier, parcel posts, and through the collection section, that imports were going to be increasing. That's why we started to deploy officers there. And if you would like me to recap, I can go back and recap on that.
If you wish to, and also before you do, perhaps just in order to answer some of the timeline questions we're getting. But we know we submit the forms, let's assume everything is in order, the invoices, all the declarations, everything's in place. If there's an inspection, that's done, payment is done, and then there's the process at some point. I'll use the words, then the goods are released, if that's not the right phrase, but for the customer now to finally take the physical possession of the goods, assuming everything is in place, how long should that process take? Would that extend 3 weeks if everything's in place?
No.
Or should that only be a couple of days? I mean, what happens when all that's in place and it's, alleged that it's taken forever?
Individual shipments, as I said, Greg. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I speak.
See how we used to call him ID.
I got a fabulous team. I get to know these guys on a personal level, so we talk into the night. Believe me.
I can imagine.
Yes. Individual shipments, once compliant, within a day. Yeah, and as I said, we are clearing those shipments within 1 or 2 hours. Individual shipments. Consolidated shipments, 24 hours expect the clearance to happen. Once compliant. If you have non-compliant shipments in that particular consolidated shipment, the entire consolidated shipment is going to be delayed. However, we do have business processes in place where we allow the release of the balance of those goods. For example, through the couriers, we will not hold the entire shipment up just for one package. We will release the other 299 pieces from our controls. That in itself, 24 hours. Yeah. If you have any inspections to be done, that will take a longer period of time. That in itself could go 24 hours before we could set up inspections. We have inspections in our warehouses, we have inspections in the courier warehouses, and we have inspections on the road where our teams actually go to premises and inspect the containers. Those inspections could vary depending on how busy our inspection teams are. We try to do our inspections within a reasonable time, and let us put it this way. Our inspections are meaningful. We don't just inspect just to inspect goods. We have certain criteria that we have set out, certain guidelines on what to select and how you select for inspections. Bearing in mind it is not just inspecting to ensure that your goods are compliant with trade and import duties, but also making sure you have no prohibited or restricted goods in there. So that in itself is a process. If you remain compliant, you provide the necessary invoices that is required of you, the necessary information that is required as far as your licenses to import plants, live animals, whatever, then that process can go away. So it's very important that you be compliant as possible.
So in that instance, then, what would extend to the couriers would also extend to the brokers, that bring in shipments for many of us. If one or two or a small number of their consolidated shipment is lacking information.
I would like to elaborate on the couriers, since I basically in charge of courier and parcel posts. When a declaration is submitted by the courier company and we accept that declaration, the very next second that message goes back to the courier company that we've accepted that declaration, and that's due to the fact that they have a bond, those goods are free to go. So in a matter of seconds, in accepting that declaration, it's in the courier hands.
Yeah, and how our business processes are set up, it allows for that free transaction to pass across our borders, and that's why we have the bank bonds and the deposits in place to allow that transaction to happen. But as Greg is saying, once we hit accept, that courier is then allowed to deliver the goods to their clients.
And likewise with the collection section, when they accept that declaration, that payment notice goes to the customer, and the customer is ready to come in and pay for it. Yeah. If they get a notice to justify their declaration, then they normally comply, they re-upload and resubmit it, and shortly after that, we'll accept it for you to come in and pay as well.
Yeah. When we have shipments arriving by air, I'll give you a little scenario. They come into our transit shed and they come in bags, for example, and if there are 50 different shipments and one is not compliant, we can separate the other 49 and release them to you. However, when you have one container, that container has to be cleared together. So when you bring through the sea, it becomes a bit more complicated. And then if it's 2 or 3 decorations in there that are not compliant, and causing for an inspection, it will delay the entire container.
Okay. Now, with that, then, if an instance was to occur that a customer felt, well, this is taking an unreasonable amount of time, I have satisfied all the stuff. Is there for want of a better word, an appeals process and a complaints process? Someone somewhere that the individual can elevate that scenario?
Yes, we actually have on our website a complaints that they can file a complaint. There's direction there on how you do so. So complaints are normally done. We encourage persons to put it in writing to us so that we can do a proper investigation. Our professional standards unit would take up that investigation if necessary to determine if there was any unethical behavior by the officer. Otherwise, it's normally done by the assistant director and his senior officers to investigate if it's a delay that's caused. Otherwise, we will investigate to determine what has happened. But yes, there's appeals process.
Right. Well, gents, very grateful not only for your attendance Monday with Mr. Hart, but again this afternoon, share with us and to your team. Let us know how we can help and continue to do the job, to keep the borders safe, and keep some of the things and the people out, perhaps, that maybe should be helping us better. Any final thoughts, Mr. Eubanks, Mr. Walton, that you may want to leave with our listeners?
Yes, I'd just like to recap to say that, imports in June increased to 18,000, the highest ever amount of imports we have had. A lot of them are individual imports, and it's caused primarily by the restriction to travel. A lot of persons are shopping online and importing their goods using either custom broker or couriers to import their goods for them. And we are asking that they follow the requirements. Visit our Facebook and look for the necessary requirements that are asked for example, appointment of agent form to be completed and submitted to your respective courier or custom broker. Provide a copy of your driver's license, color preferred, passport, no voter's ID because there's no expiry date on those. So driver's license, passports, submit it to your respective agents, as well as any information as far as your invoices, be it supplier's invoice, sales invoice. And as Mr. Greg said, when you're shopping online, you're using Amazon or those other suppliers, don't just take a picture, a snapshot of the screen. Go in the link, open up your invoice, and you can download your invoice and email your invoice to your agent so that when they submit, they're submitting a proper document to Customs and Border Control. It's not just a screenshot that we could just see part of the invoice, or it's not a full invoice that has all the charges on it. You have a responsibility as an importer, as the owner of those goods, to provide the necessary information to your agent. In addition to that, as the importer, if you decide to import the goods yourself, you also have the responsibility to ensure that the necessary information is there, because we have laws, we have policies to follow, and we need those information not only just for trade, but we also need it for statistical purposes. You're right, tariff codes have to be selected, and I'd just like to touch on tariff codes. Doing while I'm on it, as we know, the tariff, the HS tariff was a big thing when we implemented it. Yes, and the purpose of the tariff is to identify goods and categorize goods for many purposes, for government policy decision making, far as what duty should be put on goods, as well as to determine how much plastics, how much cardboard comes in go into our landfill, to determine and how we mitigate those sort of risk, as well as having the tariffs for speaking languages around the world. You may not speak Japanese, but once you put the right tariff code, they know what it is because it's international. It's harmonized. Yes. Exactly. Thank you very much, Mr. Greg. You see how
and while he's on that note, hopefully I don't ruin your thoughts. Since it's harmonized, you can actually utilize Google and some people struggle with tariff codes. You can just put in what is the customs tariff for water, whatever the item may be, and put a question mark, and it guides you relatively close to that tariff as well.
Yes.
FSC code, yeah.
Yeah, and if you go into our tariff, it is quite
friendly. Well,
yeah, well, the tariff, the actual law itself is quite overwhelming when you open it up, unless you know. But it's by chapter and it's based on the description of the goods. But what we have done on our system on Coles, we have now written a user-friendly tariff where you could actually go in there and just type in sheetrock, and you'll find sheetrock. Before, when you look in our tariff, it said gypsum board. Now, I didn't know a gypsum board. My father was a contractor all my life. I never knew of gypsum board. But the online Coles system, you put in sheetrock, it'll take you directly there. We call it car. You know, the tariff calls it motor vehicles. So those sort of local terminal names that we use, we have it in our system there to help you, guide you through a lot quicker. And again, we have the support if you need it. You could go into our office; they'll help you to use it.
Right. While on the subject of tariff, for the courier purposes, we've actually rolled up tariffs. I think as a result of, was it 13 tariffs to basically just to capture everything someone could possibly import through the courier company. So we did do our homework with that instead of searching for the thousands or hundreds of tariffs.
Yeah, the couriers have a roll-up tariff that assists them, and that's only to just expedite the service that they provide, as well as the airport passengers have a roll-up tariff as well, because you wouldn't want to be at the airport sitting down trying to determine what a tariff code was to put it into the system. So, we have a well thought out business process.
But perhaps
one key thing I would like to share. Quite frequently, we have customers have received the wrong items. They were inadequate. They have to go out for repairs. Anything that you're going to send out that warrants customs attention after you send that item out, if it's a refund or if it needs to be replaced or whatever the circumstance, please register the goods with customs. It can be done at the post office if you're sending it by postal. It can be done at the courier section if it's being sent by a courier. It can be done at the collection section or even the airport terminal. This protects when you're making a refund, when the goods are actually being returned from repairs or whatever the circumstance. So RATA is Registered Articles Taken Abroad, can be found on our website, so you can actually utilize it and be ahead of the game as well. And make sure to make an explanation why it's being shipped out.
And we're going to automate that process very soon too.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, we want to invite you back, and if you wish, in short order, to talk more about the next phase, but equally maybe the tariff codes, if you find that useful, whatever you need to help our importers and our customers understand the process and find it much more easy, an easier system to navigate. But thanks very much for your extended time this afternoon, and hope that you have a wonderful, safe rest of the week.
And thank you too for having us, Dwayne, and I hope that we got the message out there to the public. At least it gives them a little bit of better understanding of what is needed and what is required to facilitate your imports.
Echo the same sentiments.
We just want Susan so we can use her voice a little bit more.
That's still on the good side. And thank you very much for being so amenable with your time and so generous. Give us so much of it. So hopefully we'll get to engage you again very soon.
Thank you very much, Dwayne.
Okay, thanks.
So listeners, thanks again. Any questions, comments, the government service is there to help us. Please join us again tomorrow for more talk today. But start off today with the Business Buzz. It's back on the air. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.